Welcome to the Hindu Daily. Okay, so today we're jumping straight into something truly massive in science. Forget AI just analyzing things. We're talking about AI actually designing complex systems.
Yeah, designing and optimizing them, and it cuts across completely different fields.
Exactly. Whether we're talking about, the building blocks of life, ACGT, or global commerce networks, or even the wiring of the human brain, AI's role is changing fundamentally.
And maybe the most startling example, the place to start, is biology. We're seeing AI move beyond basic code generation into writing functional living blueprints.
Blueprints for what exactly?
For viruses, researchers have used AI models to design the complete genetic instructions for 16 viable viruses. These are viruses that can actually attack E. coli bacteria.
Wow. Okay, so this isn't just generating text or suggesting a protein structure. This is the first time AI has successfully generated an entire functional genome for, well, a living agent.
That's right, the whole instruction manual, and that's the really wow factor here.
Yeah, because we've seen AI design maybe individual genes or parts of proteins before. But writing the full script for a virus, a bacteriophage, specifically that has to work perfectly as a system, that's a huge jump.
It absolutely is. Computational biologist Brian High really emphasizes this point. Designing a whole genome isn't just about individual parts. It's about making sure dozens, maybe hundreds, of genes and proteins all work together seamlessly.
Like a tiny biological operating system.
Precisely. You need that coherent whole. And the breakthrough here is teaching AI to speak the language of life, that genetic alphabet A, C, G, and T, fluently enough to write a working biological narrative.
So how do they actually do it? What were the models?
They used their own AI models called EVO1 and EVO2, and the training process was intense. They fed these models billions upon billions of units of that genetic alphabet, A, C, G, T, specifically from the genomes of known bacteriophages.
So kind of like how you train ChatGPT on the entire internet's text.
Exactly, analogous. But instead of human language, the language is genetic code, life's code.
And bacteriophages, just for listeners who might not know, these are the good guy viruses, right? They only infect bacteria.
Correct. They target bacteria specifically, don't harm human cells. That's why they hold so much promise for therapies, especially against antibiotic resistance.
Got it. And they needed a benchmark, a comparison point.
Yes, for safety and comparison, they used a really well-understood guide virus, AX174. It's actually quite famous in genetics.
Oh, right. Wasn't that the very first DNA-based genome ever sequenced? Way back in the 70s.
That's the one, 1977. So using it as a template allowed them to gauge how novel and, importantly, how effective the AI's designs actually were.
Okay, so let's get to the results. The AI came up with designs. What happened next?
Well, EVO1 and EVO2 generated around 300 potential genomes. They synthesized these, tested them, and found that 16 of them actually produced viable working viruses capable of infecting E. coli.
16 working viruses designed by AI from scratch. That's already impressive.
But here's where it gets even more interesting, especially for potential applications. The AI didn't just make working viruses, it seems to have made optimized ones.
Optimized how?
When they took cocktails, mixtures of these AI-generated phages and threw them at strains of E. coli that had developed resistance, the AI phages rapidly evolved, adapted, and overcame that resistance, and crucially, they killed the resistant bacteria faster than the original guide virus, EX174, could.
So the AI wasn't just a designer, it was like a supercharged evolutionary engine, finding better solutions than nature's own template.
That's exactly what the results suggest. A rapid-fire design and optimization process.
Which takes this straight from a cool science experiment to something with real potential. You mentioned phage therapy earlier, fighting antibiotic-resistant bacteria. This sounds like it could be a game changer there.
It definitely points in that direction. A potential tool for rapidly generating new weapons against these superbugs. But, and this is important.
There's always a but with powerful tech.
Right. Controls are critical. Microbiologist Kimberly Davis highlights this. This technique needs really tight regulation oversight. Extensive testing is essential.
To make sure these engineered phages don't harm the beneficial microbes in our gut, for example?
Exactly. We're designing living things here. We need to be incredibly careful about unintended consequences for the broader microbiome.
Makes sense. But looking beyond just therapy, what other applications are researchers envisioning?
Oh, potentially huge ones in microbial manufacturing. Imagine using AI-designed organisms to, say, accelerate the breakdown of plastic waste.
Or maybe massively boost the production of existing antibiotics or other useful compounds made by microbes?
Precisely. speeding up those natural processes through optimized microbial design. Now, we should keep perspective. The phage genome they worked with is tiny, like 500,000 times smaller than the human genome.
Right, small steps.
But it's a profound proof of concept. AI is now demonstrably capable of acting as a co-designer of functional life.
Okay, that's a lot to think about on the biological front. Let's pivot now. We saw AI managing complexity in genetic code. Now let's look at a completely different, arguably messier, complex system. Global commerce.
Specifically, supply chains.
Yeah. And the sources we looked at are really framing these as potential geopolitical flashpoints for 2025, a major area of risk.
It's a really significant shift in perspective, isn't it? For decades, the mantra for supply chains was just cost and efficiency. JIT, lean manufacturing.
Squeeze every penny out, find the cheapest supplier anywhere in the world.
Exactly. But now, with rising geopolitical tensions, cyber threats from state-aligned groups, those hyper-optimized global chains have become strategic liabilities.
So the focus has moved. It's not about pure cost efficiency anymore.
No, it's about risk efficiency. How resilient is your supply chain? How quickly can you adapt when inevitably something breaks or gets attacked? Disruption itself is now a weapon.
And the attack surface is just enormous, right?
Yeah.
Modern supply chains aren't linear. They're these sprawling digital ecosystems.
Thousands of vendors, contractors, partners, all interconnected digitally, often using infrastructure that just wasn't built with today's sophisticated cyber threats in mind.
And finding the weak link seems terrifyingly easy sometimes.
Well, look at the data. Palo Alto Networks found nearly a third of breaches in 2023 came through third-party access.
A third? Wow.
Yeah, and often it's something mundane. A contractor's old login that was never deactivated, a single supplier with weak security practices. That one entry point can give attackers access deep inside critical systems.
So for business leaders, the whole mindset has to change. It's not how lean can we be anymore.
No, the question now is, how fast can we isolate the damage and recover when not if one of our trusted partners gets compromised? It's about assuming breaches will happen.
And regulation is pushing this change too, isn't it?
Definitely. In the EU, for example, you have frameworks like DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act, and the updated NIS2 directive.
What do those actually demand?
They're forcing organizations to get serious about resilience. Continuous monitoring, rapid detection, and this is key mandatory reporting of incidents, often within just 24 hours.
24 hours. That forces your hand. You have to have systems in place.
It completely changes the operational reality. You need a new security playbook. Some call it continuity under fire.
Okay, so what does that playbook look like? What are the key elements organizations need now?
Well, first, zero trust principles can't just be internal anymore. They have to extend across your entire vendor ecosystem, assume no connection is safe, continuously verify.
Segmenting networks, limiting access.
Exactly. Second, you need speed. Adversaries are using AI. Defenders need AI too. AI-powered tools for precision detection and automated response are becoming essential.
Fighting fire with fire, basically.
In a sense, yes. And third, visibility. You absolutely need unified visibility across all your environments, multi-cloud, multiple vendors. Fragmentation is deadly in security. You can't protect what you can't see.
And one point that really stood out from the sources was the need for an organizational shift, making cybersecurity a core part of procurement.
That's probably the most crucial cultural change needed. Security can't be an IT department silo anymore. It has to be embedded in how you choose and manage your suppliers from day one.
So vetting vendors for their security hygiene, writing security standards into contracts.
Absolutely. Making it a non-negotiable part of doing business. It requires total organizational alignment from procurement folks right up to the boardroom, the CEO. Resilience is everyone's job now.
It's fascinating, that theme of integration again. Integrated defense for an integrated complex system. Okay, let's turn to our final complex system for today. The human brain.
And specifically the neurodevelopmental condition, autism spectrum disorder, or ASD.
Right. It affects a significant number of people worldwide, roughly 1 in 127, according to the sources. And we know it's incredibly complex, not just one cause.
Not at all. There are genetic factors, environmental influences, differences in brain structure, how brain regions communicate, and even epigenetic factors, how genes are expressed.
So another case where looking at just one piece of the puzzle probably isn't enough.
Exactly. Which leads us to this recent study from the Korea Brain Research Institute and the University of Fukui. They specifically tried to integrate multiple dimensions to get a clearer picture of ASD.
What dimensions were they integrating?
They looked at three main things simultaneously in individuals with ASD compared to controls: brain structure and communication, specific epigenetic changes, and behavior.
Okay, hold on. So they collected behavioral data, like from questionnaires.
Yes, they used the Adolescent Adult Sensory Profile Questionnaire.
Then they did neuroimaging brain scans.
Right. Measuring things like the volume of different brain areas, but also, really importantly, the functional connectivity between key regions, specifically the thalamus and the cortex, while the brain was at rest.
So mapping how effectively those major brain hubs are talking to each other?
Precisely, that communication aspect. And the third piece was epigenetic. They took saliva samples.
From spit.
Yeah, and measured DNA methylation levels for two specific genes thought to be relevant to social behavior: the oxytocin receptor gene and the arginine vasopressin receptor, or AVPR, gene.
And methylation is like a dimmer switch for the gene,
Yeah,
affecting how strongly it's turned on or off.
that's a great analogy. It modifies gene expression without changing the underlying DNA code itself.
So they gathered all this data, behavioral, structural brain data, functional brain communication data, and this molecular gene dimmer switch data from 34 people with ASD and 72 controls. Then what?
Then they fed all of it into a machine learning model. They wanted to see if combining all these different types of information could paint a more accurate picture of ASD than any single type alone.
And what was the key finding? Did the integration help?
Absolutely. The results were pretty clear. The machine learning model that integrated all those factors, behavior, neuroimaging, epigenetics, was significantly better at predicting the diagnosis of ASD compared to models that only used one dimension.
So better than a model just looking at brain scans or just looking at the epigenetic markers.
Correct. The integrated multidimensional approach proved superior for diagnostic prediction in this study.
Integration wins again. Did the model pinpoint any specific factors as being particularly important predictors?
Yes, two biomarkers really stood out in the integrated model. One was thalamocortical hyperconnectivity, basically, evidence of overcommunication or unusually strong connections between the thalamus and cortex.
Okay, hyperconnectivity. And the other?
The other was AVPR1A, epigenetic modification, so specific patterns of that dimmer switch methylation on the vasopressin receptor gene.
So combining that specific brain communication pattern with that specific molecular marker, along with behavior, gave the best diagnostic signal.
That's what the model indicated, yes. A much more precise picture emerged when you layer these different types of data.
So what's the takeaway here for clinicians or for anyone listening who's affected by or interested in ASD?
Well, it's a really crucial step, I think. It strongly suggests that developing diagnostic tools based on machine learning that can integrate multiple data dimensions, neuroimaging, epigenetics, behavior, is a very promising path forward.
Towards a more precise, maybe more objective diagnosis.
Potentially, yes. Moving beyond relying solely on observational criteria towards a diagnosis aided by a combination of biological and behavioral markers, it could lead to a more nuanced understanding and hopefully more tailored interventions down the road.
It really brings us full circle, doesn't it? We've seen AI designing the building blocks of life, AI trying to defend the complex web of global commerce, and now AI helping integrate data to understand the complexities of the brain.
In each case, it's about managing or analyzing systems through integrating diverse data streams.
Which maybe leaves us with a final thought. As we rely more and more on these integrated AI-driven analyses, whether the system is biological, logistical, or neurological, what responsibility does that place on us, on you, the listener, the learner? How important is it to really understand the data inputs, the different dimensions being fed into these powerful models, to ensure they're truly holistic and not missing crucial pieces? Thank you for listening. If you want to provide suggestions, please contact on the Twitter handle given in the episode description. As always, we are eager to hear what our listeners want to be informed about. We wish you a great day